hopefully all of you guys have already gotten into and out of phase 1. In other words, you've watched all of the daily doses, you took the test, passed the test, earned the badge, and then you proceeded, went into maybe phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. I mean, you're an experienced person to some degree in that you know the basic foundations of our lifestyle and way of life. Now, as we've already covered in preceding lessons, it's not important that you know the information perfectly or that you have years under your belt on Planet Shibboleth before you become a Shibboleth mentor. We need you to have passion, and we need you to be willing to learn some things and be willing to help some other people. In other words, practice what you preach. We've covered that already. But there are some things that we need to learn that go way beyond what you learned on Planet Shibboleth as it related to you learning a lifestyle and losing your own weight. Now you really need to dive deeper into nutrition. And what I find with people all over the place is that their terminology is off. Their terminology is wrong. Therefore, it's really hard for two people that's carrying on a conversation to be on the same page if they're talking about one word. They're both talking about the same word but have different meanings in their minds attached to that word. So we're going to have to, again, begin right so we end right. So now we're going to get into terminology. Now, some of you may think this is boring, but I think it's going to be really important as we go forward that you understand the terminology, the definition of specific words related to physiology and related to chemistry, related to nutrition in general, macronutrients, micronutrients. We all, as mentors and potential teachers, need to make sure that we're talking about the same thing when we're talking about metabolism and cells and tissue. So just sit back and watch the video. Take notes if you learn best by taking notes. Part A of the terminology lesson. Energy. Energy is the power received from electricity, fuel, food, and other sources to do work or produce motion. Number 2, definition of energy. It is the physical or mental strength of a person that can be directed towards some activity. Matter. What is matter? Matter is any material in the universe that has mass and size. Chemistry. Chemistry is the branch of science that deals with the identification of the substances that matter is composed of, the study of their characteristics, and the ways that they interact, combine, and change. So, what is a chemical? Well, the first definition is a chemical means having to do with chemistry, or the way that substances are made up and the reactions and changes they go through. The second definition, a chemical is any substance that can undergo a chemical process or change. When people refer to chemicals, they usually are talking about man-made substances, but the definition is not limited to just this meaning. Organism. An organism is a single living thing, such as a person, an animal, or plant. We are organisms. Cells. A cell is the basic unit of all living organisms. Some living organisms exist only as a single cell, but an average-sized man consists of 60 to 100 trillion cells. You're very complex, friend. Cells keep themselves alive, produce energy, exchange information with neighboring cells, multiply, and die eventually when their time has come. Then they replenish themselves. Tissue. Tissue is body material in animals and plants that consist of large numbers of cells that are similar in form and function. Muscle. Muscles are masses of tissue in the body, often attached to bones, that can tighten and relax to produce movement. Skeletal muscle. A skeletal muscle is connected to the skeleton to form part of the mechanical system that moves the limbs and other parts of the body. Fat. Fat is a natural, oily, or greasy substance found in animal bodies, especially when deposited as a layer under the skin or around certain organs. The second definition is fat is a substance of this type made from animal or plant products that's used in cooking. Saturated fat. Saturated fat is a form of fat found in animal fat. Products such as cream, cheese, butter, lard, and fatty meats, as well as in certain vegetable products such as coconut oil, cottonseed oil, palm kernel oil, and chocolate. Saturated fat is a solid at room temperature. While it has long been believed that eating foods high in saturated fat increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, more recent research has shown this to be untrue. No wonder coconut oil is in there, correct? Unsaturated fat. Unsaturated fat is a form of fat found in foods like avocado, nuts, and vegetable oils, such as canola and olive oils. Meat products contain both saturated and unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fat is liquid at room temperature. Trans fat. Trans fat are unsaturated fats that are uncommon in nature and created artificially. This type of fat is found in processed foods like cereals, baked goods, fast food, ice cream, and frozen dinners. Anything that contains partially hydrogenated oil contains trans fat. Also, you need to be aware that oftentimes on labels, trans fats are identified as fractionated oils. Organ. An organ is made of a group of two or more types of tissue that work together to achieve a specific function in an organism. While your heart and lungs are organs, skeletal muscle is not an organ because a muscle is just one type of tissue. A gram. A gram is a unit of weight in the metric system. 1 pound is equal to 454 grams. A kilogram. A kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams or 2.2 pounds. A milligram. A milligram is 1,000th of a gram. Celsius. Celsius is a scale of temperature on which water freezes at 0 degrees and boils at 100 degrees. In the Fahrenheit scale used in the United States, water freezes at 32 degrees and boils at 212 degrees. Calorie. A calorie is a measurement unit of energy potential. When we talk about the heat output of an organism or the energy value of food, calorie refers to the energy required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. This is also known as a kilocalorie or a large calorie. A nutrient. A nutrient is a substance that gives a living body something that it needs to live and grow. Notice calories and nutrients are different. Food. Food is material taken into the body to provide it with the nutrients it needs for energy and growth. Food is essentially fuel for the body. An element. An element, also called a chemical element, is a substance that cannot be broken down into smaller parts by a chemical reaction. There are more than 100 elements, and they are the primary building blocks of matter. A compound. A compound is a substance made up of two or more different elements. A molecule. A molecule is the smallest particle of any compound that still exists as that substance. If you were to break it down any further, it would separate into the elements that make it up, meaning it would no longer exist as that original substance. Acid. An acid is a chemical compound that usually eats away at materials and often will have a sour taste. Protein. Proteins are naturally occurring compounds. that are used for growth and repair in the body and to build cells and tissues. In other words, you need protein. It is the most essential macro food nutrient. Amino acid. Amino acids are small units of material that are used to build a protein. Gas. A gas is a substance that is an air-like form, not solid or liquid. Carbon. Carbon is a common non-metallic chemical element found in much of the matter on Earth and in all life. Oxygen. Oxygen is a colorless, odorless gas and is necessary for most living things to survive. Get inefficient fat burning, take in more oxygen, breathe out more carbon dioxide, you lose more body fat. Hydrogen. Hydrogen is a colorless, odorless, flammable gas. It is the simplest and most abundant chemical element in the universe. Carbohydrate. A carbohydrate is a molecule composed of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen and serves as a source of energy for animals. Digestion. Digestion is the process of breaking down food so that the body can absorb and use it. An enzyme. An enzyme is a substance produced by organisms that causes specific chemical reactions. A metabolism. Metabolism is the term for the series of processes that break down molecules from food to release energy, which is then used to fuel the cells in the body and to create more complex molecules used for building new cells. Metabolism is necessary for life, and it is how the body creates and maintains the cells that make it up. Anabolism. Anabolism is a metabolic process in which energy is used to make more complex substances, such as tissue, from simpler ones. This is also known as constructive metabolism. Catabolism. Catabolism is the production of energy through the breakdown of complex molecules, such as muscle or fat, into simpler ones. This is known as destructive metabolism. This concludes our first lesson on terminology. Please make sure that you go over it several times because you will be tested on it. The opportunity for one of these test questions to come from this lesson is very probable and high, and by learning your terminology, you're setting yourself up for future success.